This is Alex from Alex is Here on TikTok. This is a new show that I'm going to be starting with my hubby, and it's going to be called Let's Talk About It, where we talk about everything from marriage, personal life, parenting, to even a little bit of politics. So, say hi, hubby.
Hello.
I don't know why, but like when you said that, it just screamed like New Balances in my head.
Well, I am a father after all,
That
so
is true. That is
it
true.
makes sense.
Okay, so this is a show that I wanted to start with my hubby because, as everybody knows, I do content on TikTok. I mostly do political content as well as some couponing, and I talk about being a parent in modern day society in the United States. And so I wanted to do this show with my husband because a lot of people like videos when he's in the background, a lot of people like his comments, and they like seeing us interact. So I decided to start this channel and start doing episodes called Let's Talk About It, where we talk about different issues and different discussions. So, for today, we're going to be talking about one of the most controversial things that has been said, which is the wealthy are out of touch. And I think that this is very hot button topic right now because of Katy Perry going to space. Literally, as like people, yes, because she went to space for like 17 seconds and acted like it was like the most amazing thing while like everybody's living paycheck to paycheck.
Well, I mean, I'm certain it was a fantastic experience for her, so
Well,
that's nice, I guess.
so for her, she floated around for like not even a whole minute. I don't even know, 11 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what do you expect to pay for? You know?
Yeah, but it's kind of funny like that's what set off the whole conversation because obviously the wealth gap has been getting like increasingly worse in the United States, and it's the worst right now that it's ever been like in US history. And like even though our country is only 250 years old, like that's that's insane like how bad it's gotten to to like the point where we've actually surpassed the French Revolution's wealth gap. And now Katy Perry going to space
Have we
has.
actually?
Yes, we have.
Oh.
We actually have. Yeah.
To be fair, the French are very good at like striking and protesting.
Yeah,
It's like their
that's
specialty.
that's true. That's true. A lot of people are saying that we should be protesting more.
I think we live in a very pacified country currently.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I think that goes into saying as well that so many people like us are like living paycheck to paycheck. People are struggling and they just don't even have time to even, you know, protest and sign petitions and like really get involved. Like they barely had enough time to even pay attention when voting season was going on. You remember how like
I mean,
a lot of people didn't even know that Biden wasn't even on the ballot anymore.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm a pretty difficult or a pretty busy guy myself, but not knowing that Biden was not on the ballot is a little, concerning, I guess. But
Definitely concerning.
I mean, it is what it is. I think a lot of these things are by design, though. Uh, the busier, by necessity or not, your working classes, and the more distracted they are, the less opportunity they have to have any sort of major recourse against maybe decisions that they don't agree with.
Yeah, that's true. And that's definitely something that a lot of people have been discussing online is that obviously we live in a capitalist society. A lot of people don't like capitalism right now, and they say that it's obviously made by design so that there is a large wealth gap so that the people who are in poverty or below like middle class can stay there to continue to work and continue to make money for the people who are wealthy so that the system just keeps turning and never stops.
So that system in theory is fine, but a lot of it hinges on not having people at the top end of that system being ridiculously greedy, or you know, and to a point. And I feel like we've now, with multiple billionaires and holding a, pretty much 99% of the wealth, between just a handful of people, it's become pretty apparent that there's you know no real regulation or structures in place to stop or prevent people from being just very greedy. And there is an aspect of that where you think people deserve to profit off of their own businesses and ideas, and that's true. But how much is just too much? And you start to get into a lot of complicated moral questions when you start you know thinking that, and it doesn't become easy in any sort of way you know
Yeah, and taking it back to like what people have been saying about the wealthy are out of touch, I think people are starting to realize how much like billions of dollars really is compared to millions, because people are making I guess like examples, like saying like, oh, a millionaire can afford to buy like a mansion and a yacht, but a billionaire can afford to buy like a whole island.
I mean, it's even like a bigger amount than that. Like, that understates how much a billion is.
Yeah.
Like, and accuracy obviously would need checking, but I saw something along the lines that if Elon Musk lost 99% of his wealth and then lost 99% of his remaining wealth, he would still be a multimillionaire.
Yep.
Like, that's
Yep.
kind of telling in its own way. um you know how rich is needlessly rich.
Yep. I think too, though, a lot of people who are even just considered wealthy, not like necessarily like billions dollar rich, but like wealthy, like millionaires, are also out of touch as well. Like, I don't know if you've ever known anybody personally who had a lot of money, but I had a friend, I think I've told you about her before, in high school, and she was a sweetheart, don't get me wrong, like the sweetest girl ever. But I never realized like that her mom was wealthy until the first time I went over her house, and she had like a gate with like a code that you had to punch in, and then we went into her driveway, and I thought we were going into like a gated community or something, but no, she lived on like a ranch that was like 2 acres big. She had horses in the front and back. It was a 2-story home with like a chandelier like in the foyer, which I learned that word that day because I always just said entrance to like, or front door or whatever, and she taught me the word foyer because her house was so big that she had a room dedicated to just the entrance.
Mm.
And I remember like that was the first time I'd ever met somebody who was out of touch with like middle class and like lower class people, because she got in a car accident one time, and she had like a really like decent car. Like, it wasn't necessarily old, it was like a few years old, I want to say, but it was like a newer vehicle. Whereas like in high school I was driving my mom's like almost 20-year-old car that I bought from her, right? And then my friend, she had like a newer vehicle in great condition. Um, and her mom was obviously making payments on it and everything for her. She got into a car accident that was her fault. She did get ticketed for it, and she actually totaled the other person's vehicle. And she felt really guilty about it. Like, she was like a really sweet girl. She realized what she had done was wrong. And I remember asking her, like, oh, are you going to need rides to school now? And she straight up told me no. Like, why would I, like, why would I need rides to school? What are you talking about? My mom just got me a new car. And I remember in that moment thinking to myself, like, wow, dude, like, if I crashed my car, especially if it's my fault, like, my parents would take my car back, or they just wouldn't fix it, and I would just be without a car, and I would have to ride the bus again to school. Like, my parents would not be buy me a brand new car. Like, that is so insane. And her mom literally bought her a car that day. Like, went out and bought her a new car.
Right. I mean, and this kind of comes down to like environment, right? Because you talk about how she is a nice person.
Yeah.
But you can't be. It's hard to be aware of an environment or a lifestyle that you're not enveloped in. So you could see as they're ignorant, or you know, I would probably say more unaware, um, and it you it is difficult, and you should try to refrain from thinking negatively upon people who are wealthy, because there are obviously going to be cases of wealthy people who are just benevolent towards others who are not as well off, and that's you know that you're going to have those kinds of people, but it's a dangerous game to sort of generalize like that. And unfortunately, being on the other end of that spectrum for a lot of my life, it is hard to sort of keep that frame of mind, and I definitely haven't my entire life. But you, you can't blame people for having the money that they have, especially in her case where it's her family that is who's rich. She's not personally wealthy. you know it's hard to have negative feelings about her, or her general just lack of awareness of how most people live their lives you know
Yeah, and like I would say so, like she was definitely a humble person because she never wore like designer clothes or anything like that. Like we shopped at the same stores for like clothes. Cuz I worked my two jobs in high school. Like I was working two jobs I think junior and senior year of high school, as well as going to school full time. And so I would go shopping a lot because I was a teenager and I had a paycheck to blow. And me and her would both go shopping at the same stores at Hollister and Aeropostale and stuff.
mm-hmm.
And so she wasn't necessarily somebody who like loved designer things and like had to have like the Coach bags and things like that. She was like a very down to earth person, which is honestly another reason why I never realized she was even wealthy until I went to her house for the first time, which was many months after I became friends with her, because she did not give off like a snobby, like uppity vibe at all. She was like a very sweet person, very down to earth. And even though she had like a newer vehicle that was nice, like, anybody could have a newer vehicle that's nice. Like, it's not necessarily something that's like luxury.
I don't know about that.
Well, maybe not nowadays, but this was back in like 2017. So this was back when like I assumed it was her mom's, or like her parents were helping her pay for it or whatever. But I still find it interesting that she was very much so out of touch. And I think that is very prevalent today because the wealth gap has gotten even worse, especially after COVID and just like inflation and price gouging and all that stuff. I think it's just getting worse, and I think that's why a lot of people got mad about Katy Perry going to space.
I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. I see that as a massive waste of resources in general. Like,
Yeah.
we're talking about a sliding scale here. Your friend crashing and totaling her car and getting a new one, and is not comparable to Katy Perry literally going to space to float around for a little bit, which, again, great for her, I suppose.
We could also bring up Taylor Swift using her jet to fly like 30 minutes away or something, where she could have drove. Oh my gosh.
It was like, I saw a meme where it's like Taylor Swift's, remote controls like across the couch. She takes a plane to go and get it, kind of thing.
That's basically it. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. And I think to an extent we're very much in like if you don't laugh you'll cry territory when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But you also need to kind of keep awareness that there are, as much as there are a lot of rich people who do not positively or necessarily consistently contribute to positive, causes. There are plenty that do, whether it is for good reasons or not. I still think that there are net positives that come from those sort of things. So, it is a lot about optics and what you look for. And, you know, I'm not gonna make any sort of sweeping, determination about if it's more negative or more positive or not. But, you know, I try to keep my focus on the more positive aspects because you kind of endanger yourself of becoming extremely jaded, by not doing that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's honestly why personally, even though I have like a lot of like left-leaning views, I don't like to box myself in as a leftist because so many people who are leftists are like all billionaires, are horrible and all like rich people are horrible in general, and they generalize a lot, and I don't like that because obviously life is not black and white. Life is not very simple in any way. And like you said, there's a lot of people who do have wealth, who do help. And even though Taylor Swift like shoots out a bunch of emissions just to go 30 minutes away, she still donates a lot of her money. And like every time she has like a tour, I've been seeing that like she donates like millions of dollars to like the local food pantries and the places that she tours in every country. And it's like that's still like that's a lot more than what a lot of people do,
I mean, yeah, and that's kind of the thing is technically everybody could be doing more for each other and for the environment and pick a
I mean,
topic, a discrepancy, and I'm sure that every single person can do something more for that cause.
yeah.
But what are you gonna do, right? That's just how life is.
That's just how life is.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much something I say all the time. It's just it is what it is. Classic, classic saying right there.
Hmm. Okay, well, I think that's a good spot to stop this first episode for today because Mia is on my lap wanting attention. If you guys aren't following me already on TikTok, go follow me. It's alex.is.here. And if you don't follow me on Blue Sky, it's at Alex is here now. Or Alex is now here. That one, the second
My
one.
TikTok still exists.
Yes, for the next 8 months. Yeah, apparently some American company or somebody American has taken it over, so it's gonna be probably more right leaning now. If
I've
anything,
been
kind of like
seeing
Truth
the
Social.
news on the artist formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, yeah. So it's probably gonna be like kind of what happened to Twitter at this point.
I didn't download TikTok. I'm probably not gonna be. I'm not gonna be downloading that either. So
yeah. All right. Well, go follow me on all the socials and have a good night, everybody.